47 years ago, a country singer named Johnny Paycheck sang these words that still resonate with many people today. Now, first of all, some of you don't even know who Johnny Paycheck is. And second of all, I am certainly not a country singer, but I'm just going to do my best here and give you these lyrics. He said, "Take this job and shove it. I ain't working here no more. You better not try to stand in my way as I'm walking out the door. Take this job and shove it. I ain't working here no more." I'll take my bow right there. Now, again, I'm no country singer, so don't judge me on that. But those lyrics, I want to ask you this. How do those make you feel? When you hear the lyrics of a song like that, like does it resonate deep on the inside of you? There's actually an official Johnny Paycheck Vivo channel on YouTube. And there's comments on this very song that show that nearly 5 decades later, people still feel the exact same way about their jobs and that this song communicates exactly how they feel. Take a look at this. One person said, "I work in a factory. This song makes an appearance in my thoughts at least once per shift. Lord help me." Paycheck and Poe are poets of the people. I love that statement. They're poets of the people. They're saying how we feel. Another person said, "This is a song for everyone using their lunch break to browse career sites." I'm right there with you. Now, I've done that myself. How many of you have found yourself doing that too? Another person said, "I actually played this song on a Bluetooth speaker as I quit my job and as I walked out. Best feeling ever." Now, I've never done that, but I can imagine it would probably feel pretty good. This next comment's kind of strange, but they said, "I played this for hours behind a locked door before I was fired and removed by police, but I still love it." Now, that was a little strange, I'll give you that. But, I mean, the workplace, some of our jobs, some of our offices, they'll make you feel that way. I mean, they'll just drive you crazy. You know, with much of the marketplace still feeling this way, as owners or managers or leaders, my question is, how should we respond? Welcome to the Mind Your Business podcast, the podcast for whatever business is on your mind. Let's get started.
Well, that's excellent.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Mind Your Business podcast. Hey, if this brings value to your life, will you do me a favor? Will you like and subscribe and share with other people? I want to add as much value to as many people as possible. You know, one of the many lasting impacts that we have of the pandemic is that it brought a significant shift in the marketplace. I mean, companies and organizations are still experiencing record levels of employee dissatisfaction. People talk about it everywhere. There's quiet quitters where people are just working at the bare minimum, not going above or beyond, really worried about standing out or doing anything extra. We're just going to do what we have to do to keep our job. And then there's a shortage of people that's willing to work under the same conditions that they did before. They have a list of demands and they say, until things change, we're not coming back. And there's tons of conversations and debates that are had about this and the root causes of it. You've probably heard many of them, and you've probably had many ideas in your own self. Now, some attribute this to this young generation. It's a sense of entitlement or a lack of work ethic. And the list goes on. I mean, we've all got this list of different ideas of why we think that this is. But the reality is, in all the conversations that I hear about the issue and about this problem, I don't hear a lot of conversations that strive for solution. So today, what I want to do is I want to talk through a few root causes, some things that I believe are actually the biggest issues that we hear in the marketplace so that we can kind of get a full perspective. But in each one of these, I just want to spend some time looking at ways that we can move forward in a positive way. So really, we have to just ask ourselves, what is the problem? I mean, why can't people just go to work, do their job, collect their paycheck, and then move on with their lives? I mean, isn't that what we were taught to do? Go to work, be happy about it, collect your paycheck, and everything will be fine. But it seems like that formula, it doesn't work in our current culture. And I know this to be true because I hear this phrase a whole lot. No one wants to work anymore. And you probably have heard it. Maybe you've even said it yourself. Now, I realize this is a tempting conclusion to settle into, but as leaders, we can't lean into it. We have to lead out of it. And I think that's key for us to understand that as the leader, you can't lean into that. You have to lead out of it. Because in reality, there are many generations that have gone before us that have experienced similar shifts just like we are. Paul Ferry, a researcher and instructor at the University of Calgary, recently posted a thread on X and was talking about this very topic. And he included newspaper clippings from every generation since 1894 that were complaining that no one wanted to work anymore. And it really is amazing to see. I mean, there's one for every generation. But I just brought a few of these that I wanted to show to you. And some of these stated, like from 2006, someone said, I can't believe the bad luck I have in trying to find someone to do some needed home improvements. It almost seems like nobody wants to work anymore, and when they do work, they take no pride in what they do. How does one find a dependable worker? Now, that was 2006. Let's dip back to 1981, and someone said, farming is my hobby now, but these rocks, I hired 2 boys to clear the rocks off this land last week, but they just fooled around. They didn't want to work. Nobody wants to work anymore. Now, to really go back old school, 1916, someone said, well, as near as I can find out, the reason for the food scarcity is that nobody wants to work as hard as they used to. Now, the common theme for many decades is that my generation works, but this young generation doesn't. Now, regardless of where you stand on this issue, if that's your belief that it's just a young generation problem, this is how the majority of the marketplace feels. So what was no longer is, and there really has been a significant shift in the marketplace. So I want to ask you this. How healthy is your team? I mean, as a leader, how are you leading through this? And I think that's crucial that we're leading through this. And most importantly, along the way, as we take this journey together, what lesson can you learn so that your leadership can grow? You either have an opportunity to lean on what you've always done and what you've always understood things to be, or we can learn from what's right in front of us. Now, speaking of what's right in front of us, what are the desires of this new work generation? What is happening out there? What are the reasons that they're quitting? Why is it that no one wants to work anymore? And so in order to kind of get a look at that, I want to take a look at the top 10 reasons that I believe that people don't want to work, that we're seeing this change in the marketplace, and then what we can do to respond to every one of those. So quickly, I'm going to give you the top 10, all right? Number 1, the first thing is that they want more money. Surprise, surprise. No one is surprised, right? It usually comes down to money. 2/3 of workers plan to ask for a raise last year. Now, that's despite economic conditions. That's despite the inflation. And many of you, you're feeling this pressure. But you're having to respond or you're going to lose good workers because people are demanding that they make more money. Now, in response to what other people are doing, some studies show that 51% of employers said they're going to increase their starting salaries. 40% are offering a signing bonus as an incentive, and 36% are offering retention bonuses in order to keep people hanging on. The reality is there's just more competition for good employees. So I want to make it personal and ask you, how have you responded, or how should you respond? Well, I would say if you have the means, you're going to want to consider reevaluating your pay structure because the inflation, the cost of living, all of these things are impacting families. And so, of course, they're looking for competitive pay. It's big to them. Now, I understand that many of you, here's where the tension gets real, is that you don't have the ability to match a competitive pay structure of maybe some of the larger organizations or larger companies that are around you. So what I would say is consider maybe some of the other benefits and perks that may satisfy the desires that are actually on our list today. There's a lot of things that we're going to talk about in their top 10, the 9 other reasons that I think that you can lean into if you can't always meet the pay. And I would say this, don't give up just because you can't meet the demands of the pay. But regardless, listen to this, always be upfront. I think this is so important and we miss it so much. Always be upfront and transparent in regards to someone's pay because your current employees and the potential employees, they're going to appreciate it. They want to know what they're getting into. Don't lure them in with something that's not reality because they will not stay. They will go find something that is more competitive. Another thing that they want is they want a healthy company culture. They have a desire to be in a healthy company culture. They want to get up on Monday morning. They want to go to the office. They want to go to the job site. And if it's healthy, they don't dread being there so bad. You see, I talk about this a lot. I spend a lot of my time focusing on this very issue because it is a big concern for the workforce. You know, it's actually said that an unhealthy company culture is actually 10 times more powerful than compensation when predicting a company's attrition rate. In other words, that the health of the organization, the atmosphere, actually has a 10 times more powerful return in attrition. So in other words, people are willing to trade a little bit of their salary for a work environment that they enjoy. A work environment that is life-giving is incredibly valuable. So some people will actually give you a little grace on a little less pay if they like where they're going to work. And so do you know what your organizational health score is? So just think about it for just what is the health score of your organization? I'm not asking what you think it is. I'm asking if you know what your team would say. The people sitting in your office, the people sitting on your job site, the people out in the sales, the people out in production, what would they say if you asked them about the health of your organization? Give an opportunity for feedback. Not only does this identify opportunities for improvement, but it also communicates something very important. It communicates that you care about how your staff feels about their work environment. And when you can communicate that you care about them and how they feel and the health of where they're working, they look at you completely different. They go, wow, they're actually concerned about it. They're listening to me. They're listening to my concerns, and they're willing to make changes. People want a healthy environment. Another thing that people want is they want career development. They want development in their job roles. So I ask you this question, do people have a clear path to growth and advancement in your organization? You need to have a defined growth process for your most eager employees. You see, if those that have a strong desire to succeed don't have an open opportunity to grow in your organization, they'll find one that does. Because today, you have people that actually want to produce something. They actually want to work hard. They actually want to advance, but they don't want to be stuck in the same role all the time. And I think when we don't have a clear path to growth, that's why people are leaving and they're going and they're trying new things because they want to grow. They want to be stretched. And so if you can provide a clear growth process for your team and for your organization, the chances are they will say, I have a future here. I want to stay here. I want to grow with this company because I would like to do X, Y, and Z. These opportunities that have been presented to me, I want to take advantage and I want to do that. You may not be able to give them all the money in the world, but you can give a clear path to growth. Another thing they want is they want feedback. They want to hear feedback from you. So when is the last time that you or an appropriate person, whoever that may be, provided personal feedback with the members of your team? You see, people feel valued when someone takes time for personal feedback. This is an opportunity not only for the individual to be appreciated and acknowledged for all that they do, the hard work and how they contribute, but it's also a time that you can coach them and you can challenge them in areas that they have potential growth. So I would say this, you need to set appointments or have someone on your team do it, a manager or a team lead, to set an appointment with each person that's on their team. Because it is an investment of time. I understand that there's lots of people, there's lots of employees, and I understand the scale of different organizations. But even though it's an investment of your time, it is worthwhile investment. To sit across from someone and them have the opportunity to tell you what's bothering them in their work environment, so that you know what's going on maybe in their personal life that has impacted their day-to-day productivity and their clarity, their commitment, all the things that you think something's just off. Well, you'll never know unless you spend time with that individual. And it communicates that you care about them and you're concerned about their well being. They want feedback. Another thing they want, and this is a big one, especially coming out of the COVID era, is flexibility. People want flexibility. Now, this is a major point of contention between employees and employers. This one is one of the most combative. See, we heard during the pandemic how amazing remote work was, and that the home was the new office, and that everyone could move where they wanted to move. They could settle into working in their pajamas, and they could be productive at home, and we didn't have to be face to face. And we had all of this amazing technology, and we had all of these different organizations and companies, and the technology companies telling us how great their technology would bring us all together, even though we were remote. But fast forward. And those industry leaders like Google and Apple, they're now demanding that people return to the office. And needless to say, people are not happy about it. When people are polled, when they are given the option to either choose remote work or go back to the office, 87% will choose the remote work every time if they're given a chance. Now, this is a tricky one because I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all issue for everybody. But I do believe that if you put in a little creativity, you can find compromise that will be attractive to your team. Now, for example, personally, something that we do in our organization is we place a high value on productivity. We want to empower people and we want to cut them loose and we want to give them the empowerment to be productive. And then we reward it with flexibility. So, for example, we provide everyone in our office with the ability to leave the office in time every day to go get their kids from school and remain remote until 5 p.m. They can answer text, phone calls, and emails up until 5 p.m. And then we tell our team after 5 p.m., unless it's an emergency, we can take care of it the next day. Go home and be with your family. Now, I understand that not everybody can do this. Now, this isn't something that everyone has the ability to do, but it's something that we could do and we could accommodate to provide some flexibility. So I would just say, just get creative. With a little creative thinking, I really believe you can come up with a way to provide flexibility for the people on your team. Another thing that they want is they want work-life balance. Now, you'll hear this a lot. This is sort of a new, I think, generational thing that we're seeing. I do think that they are not motivated by being in the office for 60 hours a week. This generation that's entering the workforce now, you see, they're not driven by money alone. Where at one time, money may have been the motivating factor for most people. I'm going to work hard and I'm going to make as much money as I can. But this generation, they value their personal life even more than they value the money. So you can anticipate them working their life away in a cubicle. And this is one of the reasons that flexibility and our flexibility to allow people to get their kids from school is because we understand the fact that they want a work-life balance. And so we can do that, so we try to provide it in a way that we can. We also close the office and we work remotely on every major holiday where our kids are out of school. We just place a high value on the personal lives of our staff, and we know that kids are a major priority. So if the school's closed, we close our office. They're welcome to come into the office and work, but we can all work remote on those days. It just gives a little balance. Now, another thing that you'll see that people talk about is they want freedom. They want freedom in their workday. They want freedom in their work life. Now, for some of us, we start to feel uncomfortable when we think about someone having too much freedom. But during the pandemic, people had more freedom to control their day. If you really think about it, many had the freedom to produce work either early in the morning or late in the evening. In other words, you said, what's best for you? As long as the work is getting done, unless it requires a certain time structure, they had freedom to make those decisions. Me personally, I know my most productive times are late in the evening. I'm just not an early morning person. I'm not as creative. I'm not as driven. I'm not as clear. in the mornings, but at nighttime, I just come alive. And so when people had this freedom, it communicated that they were trusted by their employer. They were seen as capable of producing without someone standing over their shoulder. So it wasn't just about when they did what they did, but it was empowering to them and they appreciated it. Within the structure of your organization, I know that somewhere there's room for freedom. So you have to consider ways that you can empower your team to take more ownership of their position and their responsibilities. And when you provide them with that freedom and they begin to take on that ownership, I believe they find more purpose in it. I believe they become more passionate about it. And I believe personally that they're going to work harder because they feel the freedom to do it. Another thing they want, this is a big one, you will hear me talk about this all of the time, is people want purpose. They want purpose in what they do. Obviously, working 9 to 5 for a paycheck just is not enough. It's not going to motivate this current workforce. People are looking for purpose and fulfillment in what they do. And so I would encourage you to spend as much time communicating why your team does something as much as you do explaining what it is that they do. Just give them a greater purpose. We've talked about this in our previous podcast episodes. Purpose is the greatest profit that can be produced. When I go to work every day and I understand that I'm not just punching a clock, I'm not just doing tasks in order to get a paycheck that's going to pay my bills. But when I sit down and I find that what I contribute to the greater good of the world produces something. Apple is big on this. In everything that Apple does, regardless of what the product launch may be, regardless of what the service may be that they're launching, it does not matter at what scale or level an individual in that organization, what they do in terms of either supporting it, creating it, selling it, marketing it, providing extra help on whatever it is, they communicate to every employee that you were a part of this. You helped change the world. They believe that everything they produce is changing the world for someone else. And that's the way they communicate the purpose in what they do. So when you go to work for Apple, you really feel like, man, I'm really doing something. I'm making a difference or an imprint in the world. Another thing that they want is they want stability. They want to know that it is stable. See, many studies show that stability is almost as important as the salary. People want to have confidence in the place that they work, the position that they have, because that's what provides for their family. Now, I believe if you show people that they're valued and they have opportunities to grow and advance, and you provide them a healthy company culture, a place to work that they want to be, people are going to stay with you. These are some of the building blocks for organizational stability, because too many times people don't know, can I grow here? Do I have a future here? Do they want me here? Can I see myself still working here? What's the point in doing this? I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. But when you take all of these other ingredients and you compile these and you put these together, people suddenly feel stable. They go, wow, okay. Yeah, I mean, I may make more money at the other company, but I really like the people that I work with. I really like what we do. I really feel fulfilled by the job that I'm doing. I feel like I'm helping the world around me. And suddenly you'll hear people go, I can grow here. I can move up here. And they're going to want to stay because it feels very stable. I just personally believe there's a lot of people jumping around from organization to organization and industry to industry and job to job just simply because they're not fulfilled and they don't feel stable where they are. Another thing that this generation or this work culture is looking for, and it's especially big in this current work generation, is they want diversity. 78% of employees said that working somewhere that values diversity as much as they do is very important. And this Gen Z, I mean, they have grown up exposed to every culture from every part of the world. Social media has literally taken a giant world and it has brought it literally into our hands. They have connections to everybody, and it's not abnormal to experience diversity in their lives. So when they go to a place of work, they're looking for that. Now, I want to be clear. I don't personally subscribe to this strategy of hiring based on a quota for race or for gender. I don't think that's healthy. I think we hire and I think that we acquire people based on the job that they can do, their abilities, their personalities. Do you want to work with them? Are they passionate about your organization? And that means they could be male or female. I just don't think that matters. But I do think that being mindful of diversity when you can is extremely important, because every different thought process, every different background, every different viewpoint, every different skill set, in all areas of diversity, they bring something of a benefit to your organization. So I would just say pay attention to legitimate opportunities that you can diversify. Man, I know that was a lot. That was a whole lot of stuff, but I believe instead of just being dismissive, complaining about this, and just talking about it, we should take time to listen, we should take time to learn, and we should take time to leverage the feedback that would make us better. And I would personally love to help you with an organizational health check. Did you know that you can click the link in the show notes and you can schedule a free 15-minute personal consultation with me just to see how I can help add value to your team? And I would love to hear from you. And I want to say thanks again for being a part of the Mind Your Business podcast. This is the podcast for whatever business is on your mind. If you found that any of this, the least little bit, added value to your life, will you just take a moment to like and subscribe and share? Now, until next time, go bring meaning back to the marketplace, and we'll see you for the next one. Have a good one.